Well, we've all been dying around here to plant a proper rose garden, an herb garden around our beautiful new home with the help of garden designer Shirley Bovshow. And we've done just that. Here's a quick shot of what our garden used to look like.
All right, well, as you can see, we had some boring shrubs. They're nice, but we had to get rid of them because we needed to plant a romantic English rose garden with herbs around them.
All right.
So out with the old.
Out with the old and in with the new. Now this is brand new. These are all baby plants which are going to grow and go all over this area that you planted.
Yes, and I want to tell you a little bit before we got to this stage. And I'm not sure if we have any role about this, but the first thing that we did was we had to get into this ground and we had to mix compost and amendments. So you can see there, we're mixing in amendments, which is really the nutritious part of the soil. And then we dug it into the ground about 6 to 8 inches. And I used a spork. Take out that. That's a new tool.
It's a spork.
Yeah, it's a spade and a garden fork. And so we mixed it in, and then after you need to make a level ground, you grade it with your rake. After that, we started to place some of our decorative pots, which Christina actually made. And then look at this. We're measuring the distance between the David Austin roses that we're planting. Should be at least 3 feet apart. So this is how the David Austin roses came, shipped. As soon as they took them out of the boxes, we have to put them in a trough with water. You do this 24 hours before you plant because you don't want those bare root roses to dry out. And so one of the things that we do is we also add a little bone meal. As you can see here, I'm preparing each of the bare root roses for planting. And you know, we're gonna have a very small, immature garden, but I want people at home to just take notes, and they're gonna be able to follow the progress of this garden as it grows. Sure. And so, you know, they can leave their questions on the community board.
Or Facebook, and go like our page on our Facebook and answer.
We want to hear all that.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, in the planting phases, don't overplant, because then it overgrows, and now you got a bigger problem.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I want to show you, though, is that we are planting today bare root roses, and these are from David Austin Roses. Something that was a big reason that I decided to do English roses is because I wanted a big show for you guys. I didn't want these ordinary little roses. I wanted roses with big faces, and they were also, being English roses, they're extremely fragrant. They have many colors, and they're, you know, they're resistant to pests and things like that. So it's really good. But I want to show you how to plant these roses. This is how they come. This one here is called Grace. It's a beautiful apricot shrub rose. As you can see, this has all of the different roots, and it's got these small little feeder roots. These you don't want to cut, but I want you to go ahead and trim a little bit from the roots there.
Now, why are you doing that?
Well,
from the thicker root or from the...
Yeah, from the thicker root, because we just want to make sure that when we plant it in the hole, we are able to fan it open. That's something I'm going to show you right now that's very important, and if it's too long, it's not going to fit.
How important is it to get the right width and the right depth for the rose?
Oh my goodness. Will you hold this for me while I explain?
Yes.
Let me show you something, guys. This, we're going to go ahead and start planting, and I'm going to answer that question. Go ahead and start mounding the soil just a little bit. Make a cone shape, Mark.
Make cone, this
like a hill.
Okay.
Right, make a little hill. What we're going to do then, we're going to set this down, and we're going to open this up, and we're going to drape it over. So as I do that, what I'm doing is I'm also being cognizant of something. This is a bud union. This is the area that has been grafted, you know, two different types of roses. So this is a very sensitive area. If you're in a cold winter area where it snows, you want this bud graft buried 3 inches below the soil.
For warmth and protection.
To protect it. But if you're like us in sunny LA, you can plant this
above.
Yeah, above
so
or
let's see if I put a big enough hill on there. Pretty
good.
good?
Looks good.
So
Let's
do
go
I
ahead.
fill it around?
Let's fill it in. Oh, one thing.
Yes.
Hold this for me, would you? It's a good idea to add a little bone meal or rose fertilizer, about a 1/4 cup to a little hole. Just
sprinkle it around.
Sprinkle it around.
How many inches is your hole in circumference?
This one, it's about 8 inches deep by 10 inches wide.
Okay.
You always want it to be a little wider than deep.
Now, why is that?
Well, because we want the roots to spread out.
Okay.
Okay, so we have it mounded, so that's good. And then we're always going to add a little bit of mulch to the top.
Okay.
So that's how you plant a bare root rose in in the ground.
Now, what is mulch? What is that?
Mulch is anything like this organic or inorganic material that you add to the top of your soil.
It looks like wood chips.
It is wood chips.
Okay.
And it will decompose and it'll add a little bit of texture to your soil, so it actually helps to build your soil. But let's do something with this. This is a gorgeous pink climbing rose called Strawberry Hill. Does that sound amazing? Okay, so let's see, does this fit here?
It does.
It does fit here.
Don't we have to clip our little roots there?
We do have to clip some roots.
See, I already learned something. All right.
And you know,
so you can fan it out.
Yeah, I
on
like
its little mound.
Right, and I like to plant in pots because that way it gives people with small gardens.
Stand here so you can.
Can you
Yeah,
get in
I
here?
want you to be.
It gives people the opportunity to also have roses in their garden if you don't have a big yard. And again, you're going to take a look at the bud union here and make sure it's at the right depth. Here, we're going to fill this with soil, so you're going to see that it's flush with the top, which is perfect. Now, if you'll hold this, Christina, I'm going to add some of this, and we can add some of the bone meal too. A 1/4 cup, Mark, if you don't mind.
They're using organic soil?
We are. We're using organic soil. We're using the Kellogg Organic Rose Food.
You love that smell, don't you, Mark?
I love it.
do too.
You like that?
That's such an earthy, wonderful, organic smell.
Okay, so we go ahead and fill this. And there's something I want you guys to keep in mind. You know, you may wonder, why are we putting a pot inside of a garden bed? Well, I think that it's a great idea when you have a climbing rose that you want to drape a wall, that you give it a head start. If you plant it in the floor, you know, you're gonna have to wait for it to grow. You mean
if you plant it in the earth, in the dirt?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
But look, we already elevated it, you know, at 2 feet.
Right.
So we're gonna get a head start on that.
Does that have to be a little closer to here?
Well, we can move it, as soon
Okay.
as it grows. The other thing I want you to notice, when we integrate herbs here, don't plant in a straight row. That's boring. What I have here, which you can't see, but I want you guys to follow this garden as it grows, it's gonna reveal as it gets bigger, a swath. It's got a pattern.
So exciting.
And we've got your favorite herbs here.
We have basil and rosemary and thyme.
Cilantro.
And cilantro.
Perfect.
Can we find some Thai basil? I love Thai basil.
We'll find some for you.
Yeah.
We want to make sure we thank David Austin.
Oh my
for
goodness,
that.
yes.
So for
David,
supplying these wonderful roses here.
Absolutely.
That's going to bless our house. And you can head to our website for more information. And up next, we have Chris Ibsen here and Jeff Edelstein. They're back with us to safeguard our loved ones from that harsh winter. If a storm gets you locked in the house, you want to make sure that you're prepared for that. So don't go away.
All right.
Good.